wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna shake the ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, my name is Wyatt Milam, and I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home in Canova, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We had that golden boot pride at Parmar. There are literally hundreds of Parmar stores in West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and even more on the way. Download the Parmar app to save even more. And whether it's food, gas, groceries, or whatever, we have you covered at Parmar. West Virginia proud and ready to serve you.
And if there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
And welcome to the WolfMan's Call, Monday, May 29th. I'm the WolfMan, Dale Wolfley, and I have a special guest starting right now, so I'm going to bring him on before we get into our other business for the day. And that, of course, is Hall of Fame man basketball, WVU, Darryl Prue. DP, how you doing today?
I'm good, Dale. No work, so I'm really good.
You're really good. Okay, speaking of no work, that means that we are here to remember and honor. It's Memorial Day, May 29th, and we appreciate all those who have sacrificed for what we have in our freedoms and our country. Right on, DP?
Yes.
All right,
very thankful.
Very thankful. All right, I'd like to hear that. And we're very thankful today because we really have a special thing going on. As WVU alumni, I had to go ahead and jump on this, but because I saw Joe Mazzulla, and you can sit there and say, well, he inherited a great team, and he did, and you've said that yourself, and you could say, this and that and that. I don't care what anybody says. This is NBA Big Time Eastern Finals. He was down all season long. He has overachieved. He's so young. Do you know how hard it is? DP, you do. You are a coach. You know how hard it is to actually grow on the job in front of everybody. This is your first year as a head coach in the NBA. Yes, you were a head coach at Fairmont State, and no knocks that. But what I'm saying is you are a head coach to the NBA, man. That is absolutely phenomenal. And then here you are, number 2 seed overall. You did coach in the All-Stars, and I know I'm taking a long time to set this up, but there's so many amazing things that has happened for this guy. DP, Darryl Prue, what is your thoughts about Joe Mazzulla, where he's at right now?
I think he's doing a hell of a job. You can't get no better than that. I mean, even inheriting a job, you got to think about it. Everybody who follow other people don't have the same results. So he kept the train rolling. There was they had little minor blips all year, but at one point in the year they were the best team in the NBA. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a wonderful thing. Then he came from a Division II school as a young coach, and we talk about here and there. And then he goes, gets called up to be assistant at working in the camp to be assistant with the Boston Celtics, and then when all that stuff went down, they bypassed everybody else and made him the head coach. So they saw something in him too, and it's proven and that what they saw was what they needed.
Well, you know what they saw. Let's go back to how the heck before I believe he started out with the Celtics. He was coaching behind the bench, and how did he get to the bench, DP? And then he got the job. What did they see in him that said that this young guy, he's 34 years old. I don't know if that's the youngest coach of all time or not, but he's 34. What could they have seen in Joe Mazzulla to go ahead and reach out there and say, we're going to give you the interim head coach?
I think half of it is his ability to learn from other people. You know what I mean? Because you can't go in there thinking you know everything. You know, sometimes as players, we go into situations and we think we know everything. There's a lot of good basketball minds in that organization. So I'm sure, you know, he's a good young man. The players like him. You know, he was putting in his work. I think he checked all the boxes. You know, when you check all the boxes, that was an easy thing for them to do.
You know, I think there's something to be said about getting the respect of your players. I mean, there's got to be guys that are close to his age. And when you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, I'm taking over as this coach. I did actually play in the NBA. He had some rounds. I think he went overseas and he did some really cool things. We're going to get into that because the old lefty there. But, you know, it's like, how do you gain that respect of these players who are also your peers in some way?
Well, it's tough. I remember I was at Georgetown and Greg Monroe just got drafted. He played for the Detroit Pistons first year. And he came back and me and him had some talks. I was like, man, I know it'd be tough to be a coach, you know, at that level. He's like, no. He said, they'll respect you because you played. He said the coach they had at the time, they were throwing stuff at him, throw a towel at him. It can get very bad on them, you know, with those guys. And he was like, if they feel like you are a part of them and you're one of them as a player, they will you know, accept you no matter what level.
Okay, so you get accepted interim coach, you know, about halfway through the season, you get, you know, nominated to you get to the All-Star game and you're coaching in there. Then they come and give you the interim job. And they finished number 2. Where was the Celtics supposed to finish? Were they supposed to win this all this year? Was this their year? Are they the heavy favorites?
They were supposed to be 1 or 2 this year. I mean, depending on how Philly did. But like, you know, you got a veteran coach with the 76ers and he beat them. So, you know, it's like, so with it's not like you don't get rid of a young guy that got that kind of talent. Just like what Miami did with Spoelstra, he's still coaching them. You know, he had a couple of lumps, you know, then they started winning and he's still winning. So, you know, half the time is figuring out, you got to figure out quick. And I think that's what he's doing right now.
Oh, that's cool. I keep putting up this WVU Mountain Lair with Kenny. Kenny, thanks. You're giving me one of the greatest sports buys he's ever seen. That's saying a lot, baby. Maybe I should go with Joe Mazzulla up there coaching, right? Up there playing. All right, Kenny, thank you very much. We'll go with that. Hey, it's the holiday here, too, so we're also nice and relaxed. But this game tonight, obviously, is a tough thing. And when I was coaching, boy, I could not relax very much when I was coaching football. And I was drinking cups of coffee, and I was good. It was just like when I was playing. I reacted the same way as playing for my preparation as I did in coaching. But here's Joe Mazzulla after game 2 of winning. So it's 3-2 Miami. And this is what Joe had to say.
The last 48 hours to keep yourself away from just being consumed with this? Are you watching different movies?
Honestly, I met 3 girls under the age of 21 with terminal cancer. And I thought I was helping them by talking to them, and they were helping me. And so having an understanding about what life is really all about and watching a girl dying and smiling and enjoying her life, that's what it's really all about, and having that faith. You know, the other thing is you always hear people, you know, give glory to God and say thank you when they're holding a trophy. But you never really hear it in times like this. And so for me, it's an opportunity to just sit right where I'm at and just be faithful. That's what it's about.
Is there something you're doing?
Well, there's a lot to that, what he just said there. And the first part, breaking it down, is you've been over to the hospitals. You've said you work with kids. You coach kids. You coach grown-ups. But you've seen a lot of people suffer. And keeping your life in perspective as to what's going on. Yes, it's a game. Yes, it's the NBA. It's all this. But, man, is that just – what do you think about that when you hear him say that, DP?
It shows he's a human. Yeah, you know, like a lot of people forget, we still have to be humans, even though they're successful, they're famous, they're rich, and he's staying a human, you know, and to being humble like that only can take you so far. You know, you can get stressed out, and it's only a game. You know, it's only a game. Somebody else will pick him up. You know what I mean? Like, it's the outside people put more pressure on him than probably himself and the team. You know what I mean? It's 3-3 now, 0-0. And all they got to do is win one game. You know what I mean? That's like you take it one day at a time, one play, one possession at a time. You know, and I'm sure that's what he's preaching to those guys, you know, without putting a whole lot of pressure on them, because they put so much pressure on themselves, you know, with the social media and everything else. But that shows you what kind of person, and that's why that organization hired him.
You know, you think of a town, Boston, you know, Beantown. It is not an easy town. And it's not quite, I guess, New York with the media, but I think it's kind of close up there, old Eastern Coast, and the Celtics are old. You know, putting this young guy up there, you know, 34 years, it almost seems like you see the media trying to trap him in the words that he says. You know, and I just have to say is when you sit there and you say you're standing strong and you're believing what you believe, I think it's a great example. I think it's a remarkable example of showing the world that, okay, so I believe in this God, that's my God, yes, but here's also my discipline, here's my character, here's my faith. All those things in there, he's saying is we're going to stay the course no matter what happens. And I'm going to tell you what, that takes some guts.
Yeah, I mean, he's wise beyond his years. He's very humble. Even when he was at West Virginia and I coached against him, he was the same way. You know, he's the same way since I've coached against him when he was a 19, 20, 21-year-old. And he hasn't changed the course since now, you know, doing what he's doing. He hasn't let the success change him. And he's staying humble. And that's, you know, and that at that level, it's kind of hard, you know, but, you know, he's showing you, like you said, his character. You know, his character is huge. And you can't teach character to everybody. Some people just have it.
In your years of coaching, you know, Joe got hurt his shoulder, I believe. This is so long ago, and I'm trying to remember. I was the varsity club guy there, so I was always watching practices. But he took that year, and he came back, and he played. He switched from right-handed to left-handed to play. And I'm not going to say he was the best, but he was very effective because he was so tough. What was your scouting report when you were at Georgetown against Joe Mazzulla?
Yeah, I thought he made the ship go because of his toughness. I didn't think they had a lot of tough guys, but you know, I think they all follow his lead. You know, so when they follow his lead, they all banded around him, and like he would just make tough plays after tough play, defending, hitting shots, making plays for others. You know, the scouting report wasn't nothing, you know, much to write, but you know, you gotta watch him. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's the glue guy. You know, glue guys go a long way. That's what I have a player in the NBA now that play with Denver, and what he's doing for Denver, he's a glue guy. You know, Jeff Green does a little bit of everything, and that's the kind of player Joe Mazzulla was.
Oh, awesome. Let's listen to Joe. This is the only other clip I have. This is post-game, or post-press conference for Game 6. So obviously they know going to Game 7.
You said looking at Game 7, we got to remember what got us here. How did you guys get here? Only 4 teams in NBA history have even forced to Game 7 down 0-3.
Faith, love, togetherness, physicality, belief, hope, all those things combined. But it starts with the locker room. So those guys had a choice to make, and they chose to believe in each other.
All right, DP. I know that you're all into that, and you're about that team unity. But we're talking NBA. We're talking guys that make millions of dollars, and you know, the locker room. Though he says it's about the locker room. Is that even possible in today's day and age? And all the Instagram accounts here, Twitter here, Nike, Adidas, whatever it may be. Okay, all these other distractions. When you come together, a locker room that he's never seen before. That's pretty amazing in the statement in itself.
Yeah, but not, you know, at that level, if you want to win, you make a choice of winning. They're a much better team, overall team than Miami. Miami just played better, and you know, at the time, you have to, like, you know, your legacy, you know, is on this as a player. You know what I mean? You can blame the coach all you want, this and this and that. The players play. The players make plays. You know, I don't, as a coach, I don't shoot the ball, I don't rebound, I don't play defense. You know what I mean? And those guys do all that. So it looked like, I mean, he made some adjustments too. He's not going to put that credit on himself. You know, before there was just a lot of one-on-one basketball. They were just going back and forth. Now there's a whole lot of strategy going on. They're moving the ball, getting in the lane, throwing it out. Guys are scrambling, So he made some changes too, but he put the onus on them, and he giving the credit to them, which will them guys will run through the wall for you. When you give the credit to the players, they will run through the wall for you, and so, instead of taking the credit to them.
The Game 3 loss, he actually put the onus on himself for that loss. And the blowout was like 128 to 102, I think, or 104. But he actually put that on himself. You got to think that helped with the players believing in him as well to go ahead and put that, because now the Celtics, as crazy as the fans are, I think they're crazy because you have a young coach who, I guess you're supposed to be successful with this team because it's loaded. So we could just go ahead and say he's supposed to be successful, but he did what he was really supposed to do. He finished number 2. He actually did it, and he's 34 years old. Why would you get a firing thread going for that guy? Is it because the Celtics fans are crazy and they just expect to win it all? What is it?
People don't know what they're talking about. When was the last time they won it? You know what I mean? So let's be real. Let's be real. You know what I mean? When was the last time they won it? I mean, in an 82-game season, you're going to have ups and downs. They were up for a long time, and they, slip back up, slip back up. So that's the same thing as a season. So they slipped a little bit, now they back up. That's basketball. That's how the basketball game goes. You never know what you're going to get the next game. And as long as some guys are playing hard and playing for each other, like they said, and making a choice of wanting to win, it's a whole different game, especially at that level. And you got Jaylen Brown, you got Tatum, and Marcus Smart. You got a lot of winners on that team. They haven't won it yet, but they're getting close. They sniffed it before, and they know what it takes to get back there. So that's what they're doing right now.
Well, I got to think that they're going to have to leave it on the line. It's history either way. If Boston wins as first team to ever come back, win a series being 3 games down, and if Miami wins, it's the first time that a number 8 seed makes it to the NBA Finals. So history either way in this, and I feel good about the Celtics. What's your thoughts here for tonight? I mean, do they have to waste too much gas to fight it there in Miami the other night, or are they going to be ready to go?
Right, they should be ready to go. They home. They got to be ready to go. I think Miami's running out of gas. You know what I mean? I think you see how Jimmy Butler couldn't get it going in the fourth quarter the other day. So it's so it's more than just Tatum. It's like it's a collective effort. You know what I mean? I think Boston has too many. Jaylen Brown hasn't gotten going yet, and if he gets going tonight, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap, huh? Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what's a wrap, DP. That's going to be you and me, man. Are you going to go ahead with a prediction? Because if you're right, I'll bring it back tomorrow. But if you stink, I'm going to fire you tonight and bring it back next week. What do you got? What's your prediction?
I'm going with Mazzulla tonight. I'm going with the Boston Celtics. I mean, you don't fight this hard to get back to where you need to get back to, and then lay an egg. So. And I'm going with West Virginia alumni, so I'm going with him.
Well, I'm definitely seeing this right here. Blessings to Joey and the Celtics. I'm rubbing the West Virginia helmet.
There you go.
You're representing, man.
Yeah.
And I think that Joe Mazzulla is going to take this. I'm going to tell you why. Because he's too tough to let it go. He's too tough. He's a winner. He finds ways to win in the most extreme situations. He's done it all season, and actually, he's done it all his life. And that's why I'm going to go with it, even though he's so young. But I'm going to tell you this one last thing, and you can tell me, I'm going to give you the last word. Okay, this is a 34-year-old coach who's bound to make mistakes. When I was a first-year coach, man, or head coach, it doesn't matter, whatever time you're first at something, whatever, you are going to make mistakes. In 5 years, you're going to be so much better at that position, whatever it may be in life, than you were when you first started out. What in the world is going on, man? You cannot let this guy escape. Boss, you're crazy if you ever think about canning him in the next year or two just because of where they're at right now.
I mean, everybody makes mistakes. If you're a young coach, you're an older coach, you know what I mean? We all make mistakes here and there. And that's part of the game because you don't know how the game's going to flow. So, not calling a timeout, at one time, sometimes you want the guys to play through it and see how they do. That's a part of, they're men. They're not little kids, you know what I mean? So they know, what they're supposed to be doing. Sometimes you just got to, redirect them and get back get back organized. But yeah, like young coach, he's fighting through it. He's one game away from the championship game. One game away from one game away from the championship game in his fourth season as a head coach.
Yeah, go get that. Yes, that would be a first, I think, for WVU. Was Jerry West never head coach? Was he?
I don't think. I think
it's just either management or player, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let it go at that, DP. Man, you got to come back. Listen, man, I'm holding you on tonight. Okay, if you let me down, I'm going to be mad at you. All right, Celtics better win. Darryl Prue, WVU Hall of Fame coach of many years and full of tons of basketball hoops knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, brother. God bless you, man. Okay, hey, Darryl Prue, DP. You can't get much better than Darryl Prue. And that's why I have him on the Mountaineer Hardcourt Legends pregame. And we're going to have that show again next year as well. Again, it'll be sponsored by Parmar Stores, unless I screw up and I stink, which I don't plan on stinking very much. But let's go ahead and go here. Right there, Paul Mini, rechargers and batteries. Check it out. You can go QTR, the code, or QR code, right? You can go ahead and do that and get them. Hey, it recharges itself. It's amazing. Get these batteries. It's paulmini.com. It's absolutely amazing. Get the code, man. Put the code on there, the phone, right? Get up there and be like, zip. Check it out. You can't go wrong. They're rechargeable. They recharge like a cell phone. It's made of lithium, right? That's how they charge 500 times. You don't have to buy another AA battery. Be like me. My kids, man, they're playing the games. They're doing all this. AA batteries, I'm spending a ton of money on. Go here, paulmini.com. The code, get that. And let's hit this real quick. Artisan Grange Company, AGC, hemp dip. Don't kiss those special people when you got that nicotine tobacco. Ugh. Dip hemp, it's a replacement for all the chewing tobacco out there. Do it. I'm telling you. AGC, you go to wolfmandip.com, another QR code. Check it out. Okay. Artisan Grange Company. My boy, he's a mountaineer. Johnny Cahigas. And, he's there. Order from them, wolfmandip.com, or it's shop artisangrange.com. Whatever you want. Tons of things there. Hey, even get some like hats, cool hats, and shirts. Big time. And last but not least, we got John Cantwell, Mountaineer, offensive lineman, former offensive lineman. Still looks like he is an offensive lineman. I know nothing about that, but he is West Virginia United. Get on the QR code, westvirginiaunited.com. This is a movement. He's selling stickers, socks. Let's bring West Virginia together. Just like with this Joe Mazzulla. I put out a tweet, and the tweet went crazy in favor of Joe Mazzulla. A tweet, put out Facebook. It shows West Virginia, WVU fans, Mountaineer fans, united. West Virginia United, go ahead and hit that. And let's go. It's going to be the Frank Fear Hour is next. Whoa, this is big. Remember the movie The Express? Well, I went ahead and I asked Frank Fear, who is the author of the Band of Brothers, Then and Now, 66 to 70 Mountaineers. Well, we developed a relationship here in the last few months. So I got bold enough and I asked him and said, you like to do research, check out The Express. Ernie Davis, great story, great movie for the most part. But boy, there's some parts in there that upset me. And before we get started, Frank sent me 2 clips. I'm only going to put 1 clip in this video because the other one really, really bothered me. And it really pissed me off because I'm going to let Frank tell you about this. But this is Ernie Davis Story, the movie The Express. And Frank's going to let you know exactly how it played out at West Virginia. Here we go. And now, moving on, we are headed into, yes, you know what it is. It's the Frank Fear Hour. Frank Fear, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Dale.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, Frank, you are the author of The Band of Brothers, Then and Now, the 66 through 70 Mountaineers. But today, we're going to go a little bit off track because I think you've been a professor for 40 to 50 years. Okay, and you usually give out assignments, but for the WolfMan's call last week, you were gracious enough to say, hey, you know what? I'll go ahead and dig into to this for you. And what it was about Ernie Davis in the movie The Express and the scenes of the game, supposedly at West Virginia, and they really portrayed it as Mountaineer fans being poor, team members being poor, but you got the scoop. So what is the real story, my friend?
Good. Well, thank you very much. You did give me this assignment, and it was like throwing a bone to a dog because, as you know, I love football history, and this is one that casts a very negative light on WVU, its fans, in the state of West Virginia, and we need to correct the ledger. So you gave me the assignment. What's the answer to the question? Was it true or false? And maybe where we start, Dale, is to talk about the film itself. It's called The Express, and the reason it's called The Express, it's the Ernie Davis story. Ernie Davis was a great running back in the late 50s, early 60s for Syracuse. West Virginia played against Ernie Davis in Syracuse. And, you know, the sad part of the story is that he never got a chance to play pro football, even though he was an All-America and he was the first African-American to win the Heisman Trophy at Syracuse. And he followed the legendary Jim Brown. Floyd Little followed Ernie Davis. What a trio that from the mid-50s to the mid-60s. A tidbit that I found in my research, incredibly so. Ernie Davis, who died at 23 from leukemia, and Jim Brown, who just died a week or so ago, died on the same day, 60 years apart.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that incredible?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know that before digging into this?
No, no. Most of what I'm going to share today is really part of the assignment you gave me. I did not know that before. I also didn't know that Ernie Davis, even though he played ball at Elmira High School, actually Elmira Free Academy, known in those days, and he got the nickname The Express because of his running back work at that high school, that he was born 15 miles from where the great Jim Braxton was born, near Uniontown, Pennsylvania. And guess what? Jim Brown also died young of cancer, and he also wore number 44. So you look at the spaghetti, sort of how these things are connected, and it's, for me, it's just incredible, because when I look at Ernie Davis and I look at a Jim Braxton, Jim Brown, they're all cut of the same fabric. No question about that. So the film was released in 2008, and I'll tell you what, and you know this, Dale, I didn't have any trouble finding a load of literature, both in Syracuse and in West Virginia and nationally, that basically said there are a lot of inaccuracies in this film. And it's really too bad, because it does generally a good job of talking about Ernie Davis.
Right.
And it does a good job, I think, of shedding a light on issues of the time back in the mid-50s to mid-60s in particular, really at a time before college football was broadly integrated. Now, let's get to the issues at hand here. There are several scenes in that film that cast a very negative light on WVU, its fans, and the state of West Virginia. Two scenes in particular. Now, what is crazy to me is there's even a quote in one of the scenes attributed to Ben Schwartzwald, basically talking about, well, you know these people down here. Well, Ben Schwartzwalder was born in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. He played his college football at West Virginia.
Everyone is to keep their helmet on at all times, whether you're in the game or not. I don't want anyone hurt by flying bombs. Davis, Bucks, and Bader. You stay in the middle of the pack. Keep your heads down.
It must be Halloween, because here come the spooks.
You'll be safer out on the field. All right, let's go!
The unbeaten Syracuse Orangemen have made the journey to Morgantown, West Virginia, to face a rugged Mountaineer team.
And one of the other things I found, he played line for West Virginia in the 1930s. He was 133 pounds. This guy was wiry. 133, Dale.
Yeah.
Wow. And this guy won multiple medals in World War II. The Purple Heart, you name it, was a war hero, and then went to Syracuse. And I'll tell you what, they won the national championship at Syracuse in 1959. And I looked at a comparison between the WVU schedule that year and the Syracuse schedule. And in terms of strength of schedule, about the same. I mean, WVU that year played Southern Cal, Pitt, Penn State, Maryland, Virginia Tech, and Syracuse. Very tough schedule. It was the last year that Art Pappy Lewis was head coach. And it was a tale of two cities. West Virginia played Syracuse in 1959 in October. West Virginia came into that game 3-2, had just beaten Pitt at home, but that was the last win of that season. WVU went on to lose 5 consecutive games, starting in Syracuse. And of course, Syracuse went on to win the national championship by beating Texas in the Cotton Bowl at Texas. And there were racist incidents in that game that were caught on film. But what about what happened presumably at West Virginia? That's what the film says, that West Virginia played Syracuse in Morgantown at night. Well, there are no lights in Mountaineer Field, number one, right? There are lights now, but not back then. And the game was not played in Morgantown at all. It was played in Syracuse. So could you imagine West Virginia fans getting in their automobiles and going up to Syracuse as a group and throwing things at the players? There were only 3 African-American players on the Syracuse team at that time. Art Baker, who was a great running back, was another one, and a fellow by the name of John Brown, who was a lineman. Only 3 on that team. By the way, I did some further research on why, and I talked about this last week, why Jimmy Brown wasn't given a scholarship when he was such a terrific high school player in Long Island. The reason was the coaches were skeptical about an African-American playing at Syracuse, even though African-Americans had played before. There were no African-Americans on the team that Jimmy Brown eventually played on. He was the only one. And so there were only 3 African-Americans on the 59 team, which was Ernie Davis's sophomore year and the year they won the national championship. So there are 2 clips. You can find them on YouTube. You don't have to rent the movie, which is available, by the way, on Amazon Prime now. You can rent it. There are 2 scenes where the players, the fans are going nuts. They're throwing stuff. There are racial slurs. It was just cast in a very negative light about West Virginia. Was it cinematic license? You bet. I could find no newspaper account of that game, which is reported on October 25th, 1959. New York Times, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, you name it, Syracuse, Herald American, I think is the name of the paper. Not a single newspaper article I looked at talked anything about racial slurs. And after the film was released in 2008, my God, there were not only in West Virginia nationally, but in Syracuse. And basically the headlines were, "This was fiction. It didn't happen." And there are multiple quotes from SU players who played in that game saying, "We apologize. That did not happen." Now, what's a crazy thing for me is that the screenwriter who wrote it, from Pittsburgh, by the way, who wrote the film, he was pushed hard by Joe Manchin, who was governor at the time, to sort of explain yourself. And he told the governor, this is reported in multiple publications, the Times West Virginian is one, and also Syracuse.com. hey, the script I gave the executive producers didn't have West Virginia, Syracuse. There was nothing in there about that. It was presumably a game played at University of North Carolina in 1958. That's what he told the governor. Okay, so I went to the history books. Syracuse didn't play North Carolina in 1958. In fact, North Carolina didn't want integrated teams to come down there and play them. They only played 2 games against northern teams, actually a western team too, Notre Dame and Southern Cal, but they were both on the road. And if you look at the southern teams in those years, you will see they pretty much played other southern teams that were also segregated. So it's, I have about 9 or 10 things that I can tick off that said this was a fiction. Well, people like Bob Herzl wrote a great article about this, and it keeps on coming back because the movie was released in October 2008. West Virginia played Syracuse in 2008, and it came up again after the 2 teams played in a bowl game in 2012. And it keeps on coming up. And it keeps on coming up, was this fabricated? Well, the definitive source, and I shared this with you, you'll put it up on the screen in a few seconds, came from the executive producers themselves. After the film left the theaters, they issued the Blu-ray version that people could watch at home. Now, I watched that Blu-ray version. At the beginning, there's no mention of scenes being fictionalized, okay? So I watched the entire film this past week. Dale watched the entire film all the way through, watched all the credits, nothing. I get up to leave, the screen goes blank, and then there's one slide that comes up that basically says, and I can read it to you. It's not the one you're going to show, but I'll read it here. Got it, a whole bunch of notes that I'm going through. And it says, while this picture is based on a true story, some of the characters have been composited, that's a new word for me, or invented, and several incidents fictionalized. I said, okay, that's neat. They did, at least they said it. Now, how many people are going to watch that far into the credits? I don't know. Then the screen goes blank again. And 10 seconds before the end of the film, the last visual says this: incidents and the location of the game between Syracuse University and West Virginia University have been fictionalized.
All right. Well, that's what I thought about it, and I wasn't sure about where the game was played. I do know that you are certainly a great researcher. All those academics that you hang out with have rubbed off on you, because you certainly got all that down. I mean, what really bothers me is easy to pick on West Virginia, right? Easy to pick on, saying that, racist here. That, hey, listen, West Virginia is split from Virginia. It came up and fought for the North. I mean, this is not what people think, and I just think it's a big misconception. I got tired of it, and I had the opportunity to ask you. And again, Frank, thank you. You were gracious enough to go ahead and research this. And not only am I going to show this today on Memorial Day, on a day of historic significances, I'm going to run this again because I think it's important. I'm going to run it out there, man. So thank you, Frank Fear. I appreciate it. West Virginia is a pretty awesome place. Got its problems, but it's a pretty awesome place, and it's pretty fair to a lot of people. That's why I moved here from out west to come back here to raise my children. That's all I can say.
Great. Well stated.
All right, brother. And thank you so much, because this has been the Frank Fear Hour. Hey, go ahead, check out his sports column at thesportscolumn.com. We'll put that up. And don't forget, he is the author of the Band of Brothers Then and Now, the Mountaineers from 66 to 70. You can get it there. You can order it. I'm sure it's still kicking can.
Yeah, we're very, very pleased with the sales because, I think the book has a lot of meaning for a lot of folks. And so we're very, very pleased. Thanks for the plug. Really appreciate it.
You got it, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great day, Dale.
Right on. All right, Frank. Thanks so much, buddy. Yeah, and the reason that I put up there about Ernie Davis is because the movie's not about Ernie Davis, the part that I'm showing. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I could reach out to, know that that did not happen the way that movie portrayed it. Because even that second scene, I couldn't even show it. Pissed me off so much. Angered me. Angered me is a better word. Angered me so much the way they portrayed West Virginia. When you talk about licensing, when you say that this is a true story and then you go off and do something like that, it's not flying with me, man. That's something that upsets me. So, hey, Senator Manchin made the screenwriter go ahead and report that. He said North Carolina. He never played North Carolina, whatever it might be. He's from Pitt, right? Go figure. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move on from here because I'm promising Anthony Becht coming up. And the great thing about Anthony Becht, he was down at Game Changer this past week. If you didn't see my broadcast from Game Changer, boy, I think you should go back and look at it because we talked to Roy Williams. We talked to, we had Meg Bolger on there. Meg's done so much in Game Changer. She's so heavily involved. I'm so proud of her, by the way. She's a great friend of mine. Absolutely love her. Love the Bolger family. And I'm getting ahead of myself here, but all the people there, Senator Capito, Senator Manchin, Governor Justice, there we broadcast live the press conference. WolfMan's call, only one to do it live. I thought that was cool for a show that hasn't been around very long. We thank Joe Bozick, who is the executive director. And let's not forget about Game Changer. Now that the whole week went by in the golf tournament raising money, but the idea is this, okay? It's opioid and substance abuse prevention for West Virginia youth. Okay, when you get a governor, you get the 2 senators, and you get so many people, so many, obviously you had Roy Williams, 3-time national champion in college Hall of Fame, but there were so many people there, like Anthony Becht coming up here. You had coaches from WVU, coaches from Marshall. You had coaches from all over the place. Coach Huggs was there, his staff, Rodney Everhart, Josh Eilert. So many people coming in because I think sports really has to have a big influence. If we're going to really game change it, and we need to get our youth into something else, and there's nothing ever been like sports. Sports can change lives, and just by going ahead and making sure that they have someone there that's there to mentor them. Not just sports by itself, because that can lead to problems. If you have mentors there, and that's how I think you're going to change it and hopefully stop. You got to get them younger. And, they're saying the one pill that kills now. Fentanyl, all that stuff. One pill that kills. It's horrible. But let's move on here. Anthony Becht, boy, XFL, great first season. The St. Louis Battlehawks, it was record crowds for any spring. Whatever spring football there was, they had the most record crowds in any of the USFL, whatever it may have been, the XFL, the St. Louis Battlehawks. Anthony was fired up. He did a great job his first season, and I know I think he's going to have a great career in coaching. I think he's going to have a great career in head coaching. And, of course, he's a 10-year NFL vet and always helping, Mountaineer, always helping here at Game Changer. Let's check out Anthony Becht. Oh, no way. Oh, my gosh. Yes, we got Anthony Becht here, head coach. Excellent. You didn't get fired, did you?
No.
Okay, so you're still good, right? Head coach, XFL, St. Louis, man. What do you think, bro? Like, how'd it go? We had you on before on the WolfMan's call, and you were just so excited talking about it. And it looks like to me like everything proved out.
Yeah, we had a really good team. We found some good players. Coaches are only as good as their players, and we had some good ones. We had some depth at a lot of key positions. Our skill players were good. A.J. McCarron became one of the better quarterbacks in our league. So we finished 7-3, the second best record in the league. We were kind of snubbed out of the playoffs by a tiebreaker format that probably is going to get changed next year. But, outside of that, I felt like, for my first season, it was really productive, and I loved it. Ownership was great. The experience was great for the staff, the players, and just really well run. So, hopefully we're, continue this run here. We're already preparing for 2024. And again, it's about the longevity of the league, keeping it around, and finding better and newer players from this year's draft, and adding those guys and sprinkling them into the roster.
Yeah, well, this whole XFL thing has really turned the tables of football. I mean, more guys have opportunities to keep playing, get paid to play, all that good stuff that goes with it. But obviously, just playing, and all these guys are getting signed also to the NFL teams. And you said it the first time we interviewed you. You're like, that's what your goal is you want to get these guys. Yes, we want a great team here, but we also want to help these young men.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, the goal, obviously, we want to win a championship, but I also know these guys have aspirations and dreams. They want knowledge. They want answers. They want some of the holes in their games filled. So it was up to me to put a great staff together to make sure they got that work in every single day. And then, obviously, coming together as a team, putting a winning product so that folks would watch us play. And that's general managers, that's head coaches in the NFL, that's assistant coaches. It's a downtime for them, so they're able to kind of get their eyeballs in our league, which is great. And we had 16 guys go to mini camps over the last 2 weeks, which is incredible. Happy for them. And I believe 6 guys have signed contracts so far. So, look, that's what it's all about. It's that purgatory between college and NFL, and, can we do a little bit more to reach our goal at the next level? And if they don't get there, at least they know and they maximize themselves and they say, you know what, I got no regrets. The XFL gave me the opportunity. I didn't make it. And they can turn the page, whatever they want to get into.
Yeah, and every player has to do that. No matter what time, what part of their life, some point in their life, they have to turn that page and move on. But the XFL is just providing great opportunities, in my opinion. All right, I've got a last question because I know you got to get golfing. Is what was the most challenging thing starting from scratch, a team for you? Most challenging, and what did you learn?
Well, I think it was just building a roster from the ground up. We looked at 6,000 players. I mean, between showcases and guys on the streets and players that were still in the NFL and practice squads that got released, trying to build something so you had some layers of players. And we had our own private workout in Tampa with about 60 guys. And, we just kind of trusted our eyes and went with what we thought was good. And we ended up, like I said, we had our 7 linemen were able to start. We had 5 linemen that were able to start every single game, and 2 more that were starter level guys. And that's key to have the offensive line in place. But that's the challenge. Now it actually gets a little easier because we only have to fill, 10 or 12 guys, and try to find it. Now the pool is bigger, and we'll probably get more away from the guys that are maybe on the street and more some of these guys that didn't get drafted in this previous 2023 draft. So. I learn something new every day. I mean, it's all about communication. It's all about building trust with your players and your staff, and just being real with them. And I try to do that every single day. And that's how I feel like I get the most and the maximum play out of each and every guy every single week. So it went well, and hopefully we can continue to have success.
Okay, I lied to you. I said one last question. I got one more for you, okay? And I said this question to you actually the last time that I interviewed with you. And I said, Mike, who's going to win? You or The Rock?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, look, he's a good-looking guy. There's no question about it.
Well, you're pretty good-looking yourself now.
Yeah, but I think in the realm of the game, it probably at our peaks, I feel confident in my abilities.
You're not afraid of the people's elbow?
No, yeah. I mean, you can't use the people's elbow in the league. And we saw Brock Lesnar play in the league, and it didn't go real well for him as a wrestler. So, I trust my abilities, but it would have been a good shot. Look, he was a tremendous college player, and if it wasn't for Warren Sapp, like he always says, who knows what his career would have ended.
One of the great ones.
I think he did him a favor, though. I think it worked out well for him. And I'm just glad he's my boss, and get to chat with him a couple times a year.
All right, Andy. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, you appreciate it, man.
God bless you, man, and best wishes. Hey, remember my son Maverick's in the pool.
No doubt.
Just
we're checking him out as we speak.
You got it. All right, Anthony Becht, guys. Listen, this is great. Head XFL coach, first year in the XFL. They had the 5 largest spring games ever in attendance for football. Absolutely amazing. Oh, Major coming in. Yeah, got Major Harris. You know I'm not going to let you go by. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Major Harris, I think I'm going to hold that for another day for sure. Because, Paige, whenever you can get Major Harris and get him on camera talking about the youth, talking about his success and all those good things that are going on, you absolutely got to love it. So, okay, so what I told you that I would do was I was going to go ahead and break down Wyatt Milum. I don't know if we have time for that right now because we're getting towards the end here. So I wanted to finish this. Does anybody have any questions? Like, light up the chat. If you have a question you want to talk about, Joe Mazzulla, what do you think about Joe Mazzulla and this whole thing? My point of view is this. The man standing up against, really, it's him in that locker room and that Celtics organization, but it's him standing up and, they got a fire thread on there for him. The dude's 34 years old. I think people are absolutely foolish to not believe that Joe Mazzulla is not going to be someone that is going to be very accomplished. If he doesn't win this year, I do believe he's going to win because he's a winner, and that's what Joe Mazzulla does, and he's going to work hard at it. I've seen him, I know him, and he's a pleasure to watch coach. But he's talked about his faith, his love, the locker room in there, the discipline, the character, all those things that coaches talk about. That's what he talked about. I mean, coaches talk. This is what he's living. He's standing by it. He was down 3-0, still standing strong. Down 3-1, still standing strong. Down 3-2. Guess what? He's visiting children, 3 girls, 3 women, whatever their ages were, that were having problems with cancer and struggling for life. And it affected him, and he said he was there to help them, but really they helped him. And I understand that effect as well. But here he is, 3-2. And then he goes and makes a comment about people saying, hey, they thank their God. Thank God for their success. Well, here he is saying it, down 3-2, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing they're going to win the last second, 3-3, but saying he's going to be strong. This man is 34 years old, head of the NBA, standing strong against so much scrutiny, so much pressure. That's what I'm talking about. That's what makes me fired up because I'm watching someone exhibit it. I guess maybe that's the word, exhibit all those things of character, of strength, of staying strong when the world seems against you. And I can only imagine what 3-0 seems against you. So for me, you heard with Darryl Prue, I think DP, he's so smart when it comes to hoops and his coaching ability, and I really appreciate his insight. Really appreciate Frank Fear. Wow, and again, I want to make 100% clear. I was not trying to show anything about Ernie Davis. He was a remarkable player. And you read the plaque at the end of that he's a remarkable player, remarkable person. He died way too young. So sad. Way too young. Too many people, way too young. And again, that's what I think Joe Mazzulla was saying, putting everything into perspective and standing with what you believe in. I hope and I wish that if I could go back and look at my coaching career, that I hope that I was one half as strong as Joe Mazzulla, because I think I'd be a pretty darn good coach. And again, I'm amazed. I keep going on it, but I'm amazed at how strong this young man is. And he's got that media. It seems like I read an article, the pregame for Game 7, and it's talking about the Miami coach, and it's talking about Miami players. Then it talks about Boston Celtics players. Never mentions Joe Mazzulla in there. I just have a feeling, I don't know what it is. I don't like it. I like that he stands on his own. And if that's what it takes to stand on his own, well, I'll tell you what, I would stand on the wall with you, Joe. I promise you that. Let's see what Keith here, what do you got to say, buddy, about it? And my rant that I just went on. In regards to Joe and fans being crazy, I'm going to say, get your spelling right, Keith, but I think that's crazy. What will they say if he wins it all? Joe has not forgotten his roots. He is a class act. Yes, he is. Love anybody who takes him to visit a children's hospital. Yeah, well, I know you do, man, and Z girl and all that, and what your family has been through, and that's coming with sincerity right there. And the fact that he'd do that, NBA, wow, pretty unbelievable. So, with that being said, listen, tomorrow, I think we're going to have Al Johnson, the National Strength Coach Association. He is the head chief of development. Last week, there's a family situation. He was not able to come on the show with us. I think he's ready to go. Still waiting to hear. We are going to break down why I got the first quarter of Kansas State broken down with him. I'm going to have the first half by tomorrow. We're going to break it down because I'm going to show you what coaching is. If you really want to know what coaching is, I'm going to show it to you because then you understand it and what the players have to learn and the coaches have to give because you got to be able to communicate. And I think it's so important because I'm not sure there's a lot of coaches outside of those coaches in that locker room that really understand. Lots of people with opinions. And it's okay. I want everybody to have opinions. And I want you to come on my show with it. But I want you to understand, too, is when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, you understand what the coaching is. So, Wyatt Milum, is he going to be that top dog offensive lineman that he's purported to be as? I guess I'll answer that tomorrow. Impartial. He's still got a lot of football left in him. He's still growing. But we'll see what you guys think. Anyone else? Any other questions? We're going to leave this. The time for the commercials at the end. It is now 58. Any other questions? Any other statements? Going once, twice, and like that song, 3 times a lady. We'll see you later. WolfMan's call tomorrow. L. Johnson, Wyatt Milum, and hopefully another guest that maybe we'll just throw that Major Harris interview out there. We'll see. Let's see what happens tomorrow. God bless you. Remember and honor Memorial Day. Let's go, Joe Mazzulla. Let's win it, baby. Thank you, Frank Fear. Thank you, Anthony Becht. I think you're going to be a great coach one day in the NFL. Just me, my thoughts. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Dan Cava has the largest selection of new Camrys in the area, and with $1,000 off sticker price, now is the best time to purchase your new Camry. We also have a wide variety of Tundras, some featuring the all-new TRD lift kit. And don't forget, all new Toyotas come with 2 years or 25,000 miles worth of free service from our award-winning service department, which you can schedule online, by phone, or through the Toyota app. Come see us at Dan Cava Toyota World in Fairmont. Shop the world!
Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia. Always in stock.